Good night. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Good night and welcome once again to another Line Vibe Live podcast. I'm your host, Yuri Armin Kemp, here from the beautiful country of the Bahamas, Nassau, the Bahamas, to be precise and exact. Thank you for joining me again for another Line Vibe Live podcast. If you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page, Line Vibe 77. That's Line Vibe 77 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And please go over to that page and stop liking it and join our network. So we really would appreciate you guys. So thank you for joining me again. We're under storm watch. The storm watch for Cuba at least. Apparently there's a tropical storm and tropical depression Debbie is going to be heading over Cuba. So let's start now. Let's talking about the hurricane. So tropical storm Debbie may form over Cuba, maybe tonight actually, and it's heading towards the western coast of Florida, the Florida Panhandle. So we just want to be careful of that. We just want to keep our eyes open for that and pray for all those people who are in its path. Tropical storm Debbie. So, but let's get into the rest of our show. Thank you for joining me again, and I'm glad to be here with you another Friday night. It's August 2nd. We're in the month of August already. And I thank you for joining me again for another Line Vibe Live podcast. Okay, first story tonight. President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, said at the launch of the Regional Economic Agri-Insurance Program, the REAP program, that after all the destruction caused by Hurricane Beryl and other flood events that happened in Guyana, these countries are faced with tremendous difficulties and they must begin to build back with the future in sight. And he's talking specifically about agriculture. And so Ali said that the organizations like the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, and IECA, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, he wants to thank them for the tremendous work they have been doing, not only with helping to mitigate the challenge, but also to build infrastructure. And they've done so, and they've been doing a lot of important technical work moving forward. They have to mitigate against all these disasters and have to build agriculture back up strongly. And build for the future, he says. So agriculture can't be done in the old way we used to be doing it. We need to build with the new technology for the future. So Dr. Irfan Ali from Guyana, President of Guyana, he is the leading voice on agriculture in the Caribbean region. And he's a well-respected man. He's a well-respected president. And so we just want to thank him for his kind words and his words of hope for the agricultural product. But I've gone on record and I've said before that we need a common agricultural policy for the CARICOM. That needs to be first and foremost. And if Dr. Ali is not pushing that bill, I don't think it's going to get very far. We need a common agricultural policy for the Caribbean region. And we need to put on the list items that we naturally produce. If guavas are naturally produced in Barbados, let's get guavas from Barbados around the Caribbean. If sugarcane is most readily produced in Jamaica, let's get sugarcane from Jamaica to the rest of the Caribbean islands. And we need to start a common agricultural policy. We need to find a way we can get agricultural produce from our Caribbean brothers and sisters to the other Caribbean brothers and sisters. That's the only way it's going to work. So if we can't start off with that, and they don't talk about it. CARICOM doesn't talk about a common agricultural policy. They want to talk about migration. They want to talk about, people traveling back and forth between the Caribbean. No, let's start with something that we can actually work at. Agriculture. Agricultural produce. I would want, seriously, I would want sugarcane from Barbados. Why can't I have sugarcane from Barbados? Or Jamaica? Why can't I have guavas from Barbados or Trinidad? Why can't I have mangoes from Trinidad and Haiti? Why can't that be? That's something that we can actually do. We can do something with agriculture, I think. I think we need to get behind President Irfan Ali. We need to push for common agricultural policy for the Caribbean region. European Union doesn't. They have a common agricultural policy. So let's just support that. But moving on to the other story. You know by now that the Venezuelan incumbent president, Nicolas Maduro, has won. He's been declared the winner, or he said he's won, even though the election results have been disputed. And the opposition, what's his name? The opposition, Gonzalez, Edmundo Gonzalez says that he got 51% of the vote. And, no, he says he's got 73% of the vote. And Maduro is saying that he won 51% of the vote. And the election is disputed. And so this is what we were fearing. We were fearing that no matter what happens, no matter what the opposition did in Venezuela, it wasn't going to be a free and fair election. And that's what people are saying on the ground. The results haven't been published yet to the international bodies, and the observers were saying that some irregularities and inconsistencies are happening inside the election process. And so you have the Organization of American States saying they want full and transparent election results and election ballot counts from Venezuela. And so this is where we have it right now. So we had a feeling this was going to end up like this. Now we just hope that Edmundo Gonzalez and his opposition party, they could, be safe in the process while they're trying to get this thing sorted out. But he's saying, Edmundo Gonzalez is saying that he won 73% of the vote. Meanwhile, Nicolas Maduro is saying he won 51% of the vote. And he's saying that Gonzalez won 44% of the vote, and the rest of the other votes are just in between. Nobody knows what happens to the rest of those. So we just have to wait and see what happens. And so Nicolas Maduro is, of course, claiming that he won the election. And Edmundo Gonzalez is challenging the election. And so we just have to wait and see what the other observers have to say. But from all intents and purposes moving towards the election, they were saying that Edmundo Gonzalez, he was trending very high in the exit polls and the polling leading up to the election. And so we just have to see if his opposition party, one second, I'm looking for something, and Maria what's her name? Maria Corina Machado, his opposition party member, who was supposed to be on the ballot but was barred from running for presidential elections in Venezuela by the Venezuelan Supreme Court. She was barred from running for elections, and so she stood behind Edmundo Gonzalez. She's been supporting him, saying that he is the actual winner of the presidential election on July 28th. So this is where we have it now, folks. This is where we have it now. So Nicolas Maduro is declaring that he won, and then Edmundo Gonzalez is claiming that there are election irregularities, and he's saying he won 73% of the vote. So we just have to see. But you have to take these exit polls with a grain of salt, because people lie coming out the booth as well too, But then to hold 73%, I doubt that. And the discontent against Nicolas Maduro was evident. I mean, the country is being, essentially blackballed by the United States, which is almost a death knell. But that didn't stop Cuba and Castro in Cuba for years. But then again, it all depends on how the people have been feeling. Are the people really, feeling the policy of Nicolas Maduro? I doubt that they were. Because the oil industry is pretty much dried up and has gone moribund. And so he has no money to spend. So how can he be spending money on this Bolivarian socialist ideological framework and this ideal when he has no money to spend it on with? The oil is pretty much dead. The oil sector is pretty much dead. The United States killed that with sanctions. And he pretty much killed it with his economic policies as well. And so that's what we have it now with the Venezuelan elections. And we talked about the disturbance tracking through the Caribbean islands, starting in Cuba. Speaking of Cuba, this tropical storm Debbie could form over Cuba tonight. And it's heading towards the Gulf Coast and going up towards Florida. The Bahamas is in the path, but we've been cleared out of the path because apparently the storm is sweeping over Cuba and going up the Florida Panhandle. So that's good for us, bad for Cuba and bad for the Florida West Coast. So we just have to keep watching that. And tropical storm watches and warnings could be issued for parts of Florida as quickly as tonight, actually. On to another political story. Actually. President Deacon Mitchell in Grenada fired his sports minister, Minister Jonathan Lacrette. He was also a senator. So he removed him from the Senate and he fired him as Minister for Youth and Sports. And reports are kind of hazy what the issue is. And Prime Minister Mitchell, he's not saying exactly what happened. Reports on the ground are saying that he's this Lacrette guy, Lacrette. He's been talking to NNP, the former New National Party, and he's been sending information to Dr. Keith Mitchell's party, and they're saying that he's ready to defect. That's what it looks like. But if he were to defect, he wouldn't be the first person to defect. That's what the rumors are on the ground. We can't confirm that. But Dr. Keith Mitchell, the leader of the opposition now, is saying that he has no conversation with Lacrette at all. He told Caribbean Magazine Plus and Line Vibe that he has no conversation, anyone in his party had any conversation with Lacrette about defecting, about any issues that's been happening in the Deacon Mitchell administration. And so that's where that is. So we heard that from Dr. Keith Mitchell ourselves. He says he wants to keep out of that fray. He doesn't want to get involved in that whatsoever. And can you blame him? And Lacrette was appointed as a senator after he failed to win the St. George's Northwest constituency in the June 2022 elections. He was initially made a Minister for Health, but in the cabinet reshuffle in 2024, he was reassigned to serve as a sports minister, and he's been leading the charge with getting some of the Grenada's athletes off to the Olympics. And no one's really said much about him, He's not really been a bad senator or a horrible politician. It's just that no one seems to know what happened between him and Decon Mitchell, Prime Minister Mitchell. They said there was some kind of nasty argument that happened before a cabinet meeting between those two. But, that happens all the time. Cabinet is where you argue. So we just have to wait and see what happens. Well, and the big story that happened over this past few days, Adidja Azeem Palmer, a.k.a. Vybz Kartel, or World Boss. He is finally a free man. He's been released from a Jamaican prison. The Court of Appeal released World Boss, saying they had no reason to hold him anymore, and saying that he cannot be retried for his murder of Clive Lizard Williams back about 14 years ago now. And we were wondering what was taking him so long to release Vybz Kartel, because the UK's Privy Council, Jamaica's highest court in the land, the United Kingdom's Privy Council, said that there was no reason to hold, Adidja Palmer, Vybz Kartel, or World Boss, and his associates any longer. They quashed the murder conviction from 13 years ago. And they said that they cannot be held accountable for Clive Lizard Williams' death. And so they let him free. And the UK Privy Council said that World Boss, Vybz Kartel, was a free man. And that was back in March when the UK Privy Council said that. And the Jamaican Supreme Court, the Jamaican courts and the Jamaican officials held him for an extra 3 months. And he's just now being released now in August. Man, my goodness. But we've seen some pictures of Vybz Kartel coming out. He doesn't look too healthy, man. They say he's very sick and he's suffering from Graves' disease. And I personally give him 3 years. Because who knows who Clive Lizard Williams, the man who was allegedly found dead and he took the rap for. Who not allegedly found dead, he was found dead, he was murdered. And who Vybz Kartel got convicted for 13 years ago, but now he's been acquitted. No one knows who his associates are. No one knows if they're coming for revenge against Vybz Kartel. And even so, Graves' disease is a serious disease. And apparently Vybz Kartel was feeling very, very sick, falling very, very sick inside Jamaican prison. And you should see some of his pictures coming out, man. He looks sick. I wish I could have shared some of that with you. I think I do have it here. Hold on, let me see if I can get a picture, a new shot of him. 1 second, let me pull this up now. 1 second, hold on. Let me get a picture of Vybz Kartel. Let's get Vybz Kartel up here. No, I don't have it actually. I'm sorry. I don't have it. I thought I had one. Anyway, that's no big deal. But you could go and you could search Vybz Kartel yourself. His face is swollen. He's turned orange. He's nowhere near to being a black man that we thought he was. Alright? And I don't know what Graves' disease does yet. Apparently it messes you up real bad. So we just want to pray for Vybz Kartel. We don't think he's going to make 3 years after this. That's pretty much a wrap. And if he is not killing straight, and who really likes his murderous music anyway, man? He was making music from prison. The most murderous and disgusting, disgraceful music from prison. I don't know why we glorify these degenerates. Yeah, he was a good musician, yeah, but he was a degenerate at heart, man. You shouldn't feel sorry for him. And you should see the crowd of people outside the Jamaican court as he was released. Well, we really love Abba Rabas. We love Abba Rabas, huh? But anyway, that's World Boss. We wish him all the best. And we don't want to see anybody in prison, but, he was a really degenerate, man. He wasn't that much of a really classy person. Vybz Kartel. Disgrace, man. Anyway, we wish him all the best. Now, on to another story that's making around, international story actually. Did you guys hear Joe Brown, Judge Joe Brown, the television Judge Joe Brown? He went in on Kamala Harris, the U.S. presidential nominee, Democratic presidential nominee for now, until they get to the convention. I think it's the next week. And she's the current vice president. He went in on her, man. I'm going to play you a video in full. It's from a YouTube page called The Art of the Dialogue. And it's a black urban YouTube page, Art of the Dialogue. So let's play some video. Let's hear what Judge Joe Brown have to say about Kamala Harris. Man, my goodness, he went straight in.
And I want to backtrack to a comment you made earlier about the casting couch. So that's true? Because I always heard this rumor that she slept her way to the top. That's true?
She did. She's old. She's 60 years old. Look, if you want to find out about it, Go online to the LA Times morgue. They used to have it so for a fee you could get them to pull articles. They've been reporting on her for 30-some years. She's in her 20s, and Willie Brown took her up as his mistress. There was a medical firm that dealt with San Francisco. He got her a 15-hour-a-week part-time job there, which she never showed up to, according to the Times, but they paid her $72,000 a year for 15 hours a week. And understand, she's in her 20s, which is 30-some years ago. That's big money now. So he got her promoted up, so she did 20 hours a week. Times reported she never showed up, but she got $120,000 a year. So he bought her a 750i BMW, which was the top of the line at the time. So he set her up with all of the connections to get her into politics. The Times did a thing about this thing she had allegedly with an NBA player to get a job with a big law firm, and then a thing they did on her with the assistant director for the district attorney's office to get on with them, and then Montel Williams, and then back to Willie Brown, and then the rest of the whole thing, and she winds up with a Hollywood lawyer type.
So essentially, Judge Joe Brown is saying Kamala Harris is a career girl. Career girl. Oh. Yeah, those girls, those boss chicks, huh? Yeah, I mean, he went in. It gets worse after this, man. It gets
Long
worse.
before she runs for senator. So, and she adopts his children. She doesn't have any of her own. Not saying it's a requirement, but it sure as hell helps, because I think the only two presidents of significance that didn't have children officially, George Washington and Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson was a homicidal maniac. George Washington had enough by the slaves before he got sterile by disease. And the other three out of the five known ones, they weren't too good. They were has been, never was type. So I say that I know what I thought when I was a young man. Such things didn't make differences, but then I'd never had to be a parent. You never had to get up sick and go to work when you didn't feel like it, because you had the bills to pay. You never had to be reliable when you had other things to do. And having this legacy that you have to pass on, and not wanting to do anything that shames your grandchildren, because they do in fact exist and it's not hypothetical, that gives you a different perspective. So it's not an absolute requirement, but I think you really don't know how to have the dedication to the job if you have nothing to survive you. No immediate cause. Not saying that somebody can't be a good president without, but it's just, what's your stake in it? Do you want to leave a better America for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? Or is there nobody out there that you have an immediate selfish interest in?
Yeah, and she used to date Montel Williams, right?
Yeah, Willie Brown's too. She showed up here at a mayor's conference in Memphis some years ago. I spoke at the damn thing. She showed up here. She was with Willie Brown. She got mad at her sister, this black judge here, because she just went over to speak with him. She jumped up, don't even look at him, leave it alone. The judge told her, ain't my type, don't worry about it. You know, I'm just trying to meet him. So, and I know, I mean, allegations, I wasn't there, but I've had at least two women that I've known who are married women, and they tell me essentially they almost slapped their husbands back when they were at Howard at a certain frat where somebody did a lot of second floor action, and they were angling on getting some, and it wasn't going to happen. You know, so you get this. Like I said, I'm not holding it against somebody because they did it for recreation, but, you know, when you do the casting couch thing, that's a bad move. I know some women in Hollywood that did the casting couch and those who refused. The ones who got refused went further than the ones who did. The ones who did ramped up real quickly, but then They're a piece of ass. Everybody knows it, so they get passed around. And then, did it really have talent, or was it just they jump-started their careers and then the lack of talent shows? Or did you have talent and do it the hard way? See, I mean, I hate to say it, but now, the other thing is I don't see any case law she made as an attorney or running the district attorney's office in a large city. I don't see in private practice pro bono when early years before she got into prosecuting that made a difference. I don't see any innovation in law that she's responsible for. I don't see any reform of criminal justice that she could have done a whole lot about. I don't see any of that. So what did she do? I just see a long laundry list, page after page of wrong. So I'm not one of these people that is a fan of promoting somebody upstairs.
Yeah, that's real talk. And that's crazy, man, because I never heard that story before. So she tried to check a female because she thought she was trying to talk to her husband?
Yeah, I mean, and the woman was a judge she was talking to. I was there when that happened. It's like, dude, damn, who is that? I didn't know who she was, I mean, but...
Do you think she like black men?
No, I don't think she does. No, she doesn't. I mean, look at it. Most of these women that she locked up for the truancy problems were black women. Damn near everybody she was getting these horribly stiff sentences to as recommendations, they were young black men. What wound up happening, all of these people she withheld information on that could have exculpated them so they wouldn't have been found guilty, they were black men. She was particularly harsh in the way black men got treated when they came through the system that she had prosecutorial preeminence in. You see, she set up no programs to come up with work alternatives. She set up no programs to deal with rehabilitation. She set up no programs to deal with counseling. She set up no programs to offer alternatives to criminality. She just came down hard, and it's like, what did you get from her? You must have had a white client. Yeah, I did. Well, what do your black clients get? Not the same thing as the white ones. And you had enough black attorneys who had white clients to know the difference.
There you go. That was Judge Joe Brown. He has no filter at all. And, what can you say? I mean, he's been in the trenches. He's been involved in all of this for years now. And he's seen the entertainment side. He's seen the legal side. He just has no filter whatsoever. And who's to say Judge Joe Brown lied? Judge Joe Brown isn't alive. No one's ever said Judge Joe Brown is alive. And so you could watch the entire interview on the YouTube page, The Art of the Dialogue. He's been doing some great work. He's been actually doing a lot better work than DJ Vlad has been doing on the Black Urban Underground Network. And you're going to hear a lot more stuff about Kamala Harris, Apparently, I didn't realize that she is not black at all. She identifies as being Indian first. And President Trump has said that on the platform with the National Black Journalists Association. So the first time he really heard that she was black was just recently. But early on, when she first started her career, she identifies as being Indian. East Indian. And I agree with Joe Brown. I don't think she likes black men at all. And, that's how some Indians roll, actually. And not to sound racist, but they have a caste system. And they don't believe in a certain race and a certain class with a certain cultural barrier. And they take that with them. They have that mentality. Okay? And we heard about this stuff with Billy Brown. I didn't know about Montel Williams, though. And all these other people that she, used to get the way she had to go. But I've heard her, and I've seen her a million times now. And I don't like that cackly laugh. I don't like that laugh. And I could see in her eyes. That's a psychopath, man. She'll do anything to get where she wants to go, but get what she has to do. Get what she has to get. And you could see in her eyes. And not to say that, I'm going that hard on a woman, a female president. Hey, anyone could be president. But she's not the person that Americans should want, actually. And I think Donald Trump is going to win by a landslide. We support Donald Trump on this platform. I'd be very, very honest with you, open with you. We support Donald Trump, even though we can't vote in the U.S. presidential election, but we support Donald Trump. If only he had picked Ron DeSantis as his vice president, it would have been a shoo-in. It would have been a shoo-in, man. Ron DeSantis is coming. Ron DeSantis is going to be the president of the United States one day. I see that on him. And he's going to get through his Florida gubernatorial terms, and he's going to be a shining star for the Republican Party in the future. I can almost assure you of that. But we support Donald Trump wholeheartedly. But anyway, let's go back to the top of our show. Let's leave Kamala Harris and Judge Joe Brown alone for a second. Yeah, we talk about the president of Guyana, Irfan Ali, talking about the launch of the Regional Economic Agri-Insurance Program, the REAP program, talking about how we have to build back stronger for the future and get agriculture back from all of these setbacks that it's experienced with Hurricane Beryl and flooding events that happened in Grenada and Guyana, respectively. And if there's anyone who could speak preeminently on agriculture in the region, it is Dr. Irfan Ali, the president of Guyana. The only thing that we need is a common agricultural policy in the Caribbean. They need to work on that. They keep talking about migration. Anyway, we also talked about the Venezuelan election, how Nicolas Maduro, how the sum of all the fares of the opposition party and for Line Vibe actually was materialized when Nicolas Maduro won the election. He said by 51% of the vote. And the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, said that he won the election by 73%, so it's a disputed election. And so now international agencies, including the OAS and other observers, are asking for a total full recount of all the ballots in Venezuela to see exactly who won the election. And hey, if you don't beat Nicolas Maduro into the ground, you're not going to win. You have to beat him into the ground. 73% won't cut it. You need 100% of the vote. You need to actually drag him out of office, man. This isn't no game. This isn't a game, man. These guys are playing for keeps. Anyway, that's the Venezuelan problem right now. So we'll see what happens afterwards. But elections are won on the ground. I believe that wholeheartedly. Elections are won on the ground. We also talked about this this tropical storm Debbie that's tracking through Cuba right now. That's heading for the western panhandle of Florida. It's moving past the Bahamas, thank God. It was supposed to come straight through the Bahamas Channel, but it's actually starting over Cuba right now. And actually, Cuba should be experiencing some real tropical storm winds right now as Debbie makes its way up through past Cuba, up to the Gulf of Mexico, up to the western panhandle of Florida, United States. So we just have to pray for all those people in its path. Hopefully Cuba isn't hit hard, and hopefully the United States isn't hit hard, and all of our family members, all of our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and our Central American brothers and sisters in Florida are not impacted by this. We are praying for them. It's just a weak storm, just a little rain, a little bit of wind. We also talked about Grenada Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell firing his senator and sports minister, Jonathan Lacrette. Apparently there was a nasty row between both gentlemen, from what reports are saying on the ground. And Deacon Mitchell is being very quiet on it. He's not saying much about the firing. And reports have circulated that Jonathan Lacrette has been meeting with the NNP opposition party. That he's had meetings, he's been leaking information. So that's what some of the reports on the ground are being saying as well too. So we just want to keep an eye on that. Is the Deacon Mitchell administration falling apart? We recall about several months ago where he actually had withheld information from the media that he had a cabinet meeting. He didn't share the information. No, it was a cabinet reshuffle. He didn't actually share the cabinet reshuffle information until days later. And we had to find out what was happening about it. We had to actually, he didn't release the information. So is the Deacon Mitchell administration falling apart? He's a young prime minister. All these things are chinks in the armor. So we have to see. And this isn't the first time that he's NDC prime minister. This isn't the first time an NDC prime minister had a sitting cabinet member, defect during the middle of the term. We had Peter David, who was the Minister for Tourism under the Tillman Thomas administration, NDC administration. He defected back over to the New National Party with Dr. Keith Mitchell, the former Prime Minister of Grenada. And he defected. And he was made a Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Keith Mitchell administration. And so there you have it. So this isn't the first time this has happened in Grenada. And Dr. Keith Mitchell has told Caribbean Magazine Plus that he has nothing to do with that. He has nothing to do with Lacrette's, being fired. So we just have to wait and see. And we also talk about Vibes Cartel being released, and the raucous ceremony that was for Vibes Cartel when he left the Jamaican prison after being acquitted, actually having his murder conviction quashed by the UK Privy Council some 4 months ago. And he's just now being released from Jamaican prison. Vybz Kartel is a free man. Adidja Palmer. So now the question is now, who killed Clive Blizzard Williams, the man he was convicted of, and him and his associates were convicted of killing some 13 years ago? Who killed Clive Blizzard Williams? And we say it very, very clearly. We don't think Vybz Kartel is going to make 3 years out in the world. He's probably in Jamaica. He's probably going to die from illness because he has Graves' disease, or someone's going to have a retaliation hit against him because God knows who really misses Clive Blizzard Williams. And they sound like real dangerous people, clowning around the place. So we just have to wait and see, man. But we wish Vybz Kartel all the best. We got something he's going to make it. We've seen it happen all too often. These guys get out of prison and they don't make it, And he looks very, very sick. If you look at some of the pictures, if you search Vybz Kartel, recent pictures, you'll see his face is swollen. He looks orange. He looks very, very sick, man. He looks like on his deathbed, really. Not his death, but he's look like on his death watch. He's a very sick man. Lastly, we also talk about Kamala Harris, how Judge Joe Brown went in on Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, in a nasty tone. From the YouTube page, he did an interview with Art of the Dialogue, and it was an embarrassing situation, man. Man, my God, Judge Joe Brown has no filter at all. And he went into called a hoe, an old hoe. My goodness, man. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. And I thank you once again for joining me for another Live Vibe Live podcast. And we hope that you could join us again next Friday for our show as we go back to you and we bring you news from around the Caribbean and some things that we find interesting and happen throughout the Caribbean and Central American region. So thank you for again joining me for another Live Vibe Live podcast. If you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page, Live Vibe 77. That's Live Vibe 77 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We would like for you to join us and please be with us. I'm sounding like word salad like Kamala Harris right now. I want you to join us and join us and join us. Please, I thank you for joining me again for another Live Vibe Live podcast. This is Yori Arman Kemp bidding you goodbye.